I realized that over the 10 years I've been cooking on the Blackstone, it wasn't about the recipes that was making mistakes, it was me making the mistakes. I want to tell you the 7 tips that completely changed my game and how I cook on the Blackstone Griddle, and in turn will make you a better cook on the Blackstone Griddle. And stick around, number 7 is probably the most thing that has helped me the most, and not following it cost me a lot of money and a lot of heartache. Enough with all the chit chat, let's get started. The first mistake is your griddle's too hot, way too hot. And let me tell you, I've made this mistake more times than one. You ever had that piece of chicken that's nice and dark on the outside, but it's raw in the inside, and you're about to kill somebody, all right? Or send them to the hospital, and they're gonna have to lose a lot of pounds. You want your griddle pre-warmed, but you don't want it the surface of the sun here, y'all. So what you wanna do is you wanna go nice and even cooking, nothing real blazing hot, nothing too cold. Too cold? That is another mistake, where you lay your protein down onto the griddle and it just sits there. It's lifeless. It's not making no sound at all. You know, for an overall good reference for cooking your proteins or just cooking anything in general, you know, you're looking at 350 to 400 degrees depending on what you are cooking. So if your chicken is that thick, you can't go 450 and expect that thing to be done in the middle. Not gonna happen. What you need to do, lower that temperature or butterfly that piece of chicken and cook it accordingly, all right? Now, one other thing that I believe is just super critical is knowing your zones. On a 36-inch griddle, you got 4 independent zones. You don't need all of them on. You don't need all of them on the same knob setting. You just need them to be at the right setting. If you're cooking a full meal, if you need something to be warm for it to be done later on, slide it over to a cool zone. Maybe on your right or your left. Always use your right, left, up, and back as your cool spots. Use them to your advantage. That's what they're there for. The middle, always use that for your searing of steaks. Your fried rice is something that needs a lot of heat, stir fries included. A tip that I like to tell people, if one of your zones is way too hot, maybe I've done it before, I forgot that all my burners are on high, you could use water. Spritz some water onto the top, clean it, let that steam take the heat out of that griddle top, and the temperature will come down. Again, this is something that has evolved over time, over 10 years. Know your zones, use your zones. The third tip here is almost like the second, little bit different, and that's your knob control. Different knobs are gonna react differently. And let's face it, you don't have to have them all the same. You don't even have to have them all on at the same time. I get folks asking all the time, Hussey, my eggs are black, but my griddle's on low. What happens is that thing just keeps on pre-warming. It just keeps getting hotter and hotter. Turn the burner off. Turn it off. Let the temperature come down. And just like I said at point 2, put some water on it. Let that water take the heat out of that griddle top. Then you can cook whatever you want. You might have to wipe some of it off, the griddle being hot and it's kind of burning off some of that oils that's already on the griddle. I am a true advocate of this point. Cycling the burners is just one of those things that works, and you must do if you want to have the perfect cook. Cycling the burners is turning them on and off. That's just simple as it is. These griddles, they have to perform a test outside. If a wind of a certain mile per hour comes through, knocks the flame out, it fails. It has to pass this test, so consequently, your flame has to be kind of high and withstand a certain mile per hour wind for it to not blow out. With that being said, that's why even if your burners are on low, it's not super, super low, and it's not a controlled environment. You're outside, the wind's blowing. Wind's blowing right now for me. So again, cycle your burners, turn them on, turn them off, turn them on low, turn them on high, then turn it off. Trying to keep that temperature steady, constant. So let's talk about oil, all right? Too much oil. Y'all know what I'm talking about. You got a dang oil slick. Looks like an Exxon Valdez spill going on that griddle. You don't need that much oil. You've prepped your griddle, you have it seasoned nicely. You don't need a whole lot of oil. A little spritz of avocado oil. I use avocado olive oil spray a lot. Just a little bit goes a long way. Problem with too much oil? Well, number 1, it's too much oil. You shouldn't be eating that much oil. Number 2, a lot of that extra oil starts polymerizing onto your top. Later on, it's gonna chip off because it didn't seize to the top properly. You're like trying to season your griddle over and over again, and it's just not that thick. That's where those flakes are coming from. In some instances, you can't really help that. You can't. It's just a fact of burning hot oil on a griddle top and not wiping it off. And while you're cooking, some amount does polymerize. That's why your granny's cast iron skillet thing looks like a barnacle. It's just oil and oil and oil. Over time, you gotta kind of shave that off some. But that's on another video. So consequently, hold back that oil a little bit. You'd be surprised at how little you can get by with. So don't use a lot. Number 5 is cleaning. Cleaning is kind of essential. These tops are outside. There's a lot of moisture. In North Carolina, especially in the summertime, Lord knows it's humid. You got to clean it, and you have to oil it properly to keep that thing nice and healthy. Healthy meaning no rust, that kind of thing, right? So in between cooks, just want to clean it nicely, make sure everything is wiped, make sure it's dry, and apply oil religiously to it. I'm talking like it owes you some money, okay? That's a protectant from the griddle top and the elements. Number 6 is resting after you cook a big piece of meat, some chicken, that kind of thing. You want to rest your meat. Either you put a nice compound butter onto your meat or you didn't, and you don't want to slice into that thing and this juice just lay everywhere and expel all those good juices. Resting meat is something that is very true that you do not want to avoid. Last but not least is thermometer. Actually, 2 thermometers. One is an IR thermometer that tells you what your griddle temperature is at. If you're new to griddle cooking or new to cooking, this is very much a good tool to have. It tells you where the temperature is. Some people don't see the correlation between, oh, that thing is smoking hot, and what temperature I should be cooking at. It's just, you're learning, and that's what I'm here for, here to teach you. Nice IR thermometer. This one's from ThermoWorks. It's great. I also have, this is a meat thermometer. It tells you the temperature of meat. So like chicken breast needs to be about 165 degrees so that you don't get anybody sick. So either get you an IR thermometer where you can measure the temperatures of the griddle top and a separate meat thermometer, or there is, I don't have it here, but there is a thermometer just like this that has an IR thermometer built right in. It's an all-in-one. I recommend that one. Actually, my batteries are dead. I need to replace them, but you can for sure have both of these all in one. This meat thermometer alone, I think, has made me a better cook. Some people said that's bull. You should be able to go by feel. You can to a certain extent, especially on steaks, maybe some chickens. You can go by the feel with the web of your hand. I got by with that whenever I was a grill cook at the restaurant. But this right here is a great way to be exact and know your temperatures. Ultimately, you won't overshoot a piece of chicken, nor will you undershoot a piece of chicken or steak, which ain't good. So listen, after 10 years, these are just the things that click for me. Not fancy recipes, not really complicated stuff, just practical things. When you get these few items down, you just won't be guessing anymore, y'all. You'll just be confident. You'll know what you're doing. And that, my friends, is when you start making some real good groceries. So listen, after 10 years, Hey.
You're done talking.
What's up? I was like, who is that? What are you doing? Got the old niece here, y'all. Yeah. Just going over some tips, some tricks.
You just sneezed right on my foot.